Howdy, hi, hello. My name is Nene. I'm your host, and welcome to Biz and Chill. This is the second episode, so I'm really excited. Sorry I was gone for so long. Caught a cold. My voice was completely gone for a few days, like 3, 4 days. So I'm back on track now. Please do note that if I'm not as energetic, it's because I'm still kind of recovering. So, with that out of the way, let's get into chapter 2 of Sam Walton's Made in America, one of my favorite books ever, but I don't think I need to keep re-emphasizing that. Yeah. Uh, Whatever. So, chapters 2, starting on a dime, starts with Sam Walton describing his being overblessed with drive and ambition, something he inherited from his mother from childhood. Um, right off the bat, I want to touch on this really quick. Have you ever heard of like the argument where if it's nurture or nature? Um, this just feels like something that we can be used in that argument. So, in Mr. Sam Walton's case, this may be both nurture and nature. Because I don't think something like this comes entirely from nature. I feel like at least a little bit of it has to be developed in some way through your environment or your role model's attitude. So I think it's just really interesting. Um, so we're moving on from that because that was just like a quick little tangent. Um, As a child, he lived in Marshall, Missouri, and Mr. Sam Walton was class officer, and he played multiple sports. He was very competitive. He noted that, and I believe that carried on into his adult years, which was what made Walmart so successful. Um, he actually bet his Boy Scout friends that he'd be the first to become an Eagle Scout, and he did. He won the bet, and he became the youngest Eagle Scout in Missouri at age 13. I'm not sure exactly how the Boy Scout works, but to be just the first in anything, that's really impressive. So, moving away from his Boy Scout life and back to his school life, he was very in love with team sports, starting from fifth grade and continued all the way till high school. So he played football, basketball, sorry, and baseball. Um, he became the undefeated quarterback of his football team and a guard of the basketball team, and he became state champions in both. So I'm assuming that helped a lot with his teamwork skills because um most sports like team sports, if you don't really talk to your teammates, it's very hard to win. And while I don't play those sports personally myself, I do have a friend who's very extremely into basketball. He loves LeBron James. And he always emphasizes the importance of teamwork, which I think is what helped him develop Walmart's business culture because his business was very focused on like treating your employees like family. That's something he emphasized a lot later on in the book. When he was in high school, he went to Higman High School in Columbia, Missouri, and he was president of the student body. You will see a lot that during his school years, he was very often going for like student body roles, like officer roles, leadership roles, basically, which really foreshadowed what he would become later on in life. He was known for working very hard and motivating others and always finding the win, which again that carried on into his adult years. He went to the University of Missouri. He joined the Beta Theta Pi fraternity, and he became Rush Captain. Um, Rush Captain being, I believe it's like recruiting new members for the fraternity. I'm not quite sure what a fraternity is, not growing up in that kind of like culture. So, if anyone would like to let me know in the comments, that would be great. Because I've searched it up, but I'm so confused on what it exactly is. Um, and continuing his trend from high school, he continued to aim for student leadership positions. Using the very simple strategy, and what you'll also see in Walmart's business today, of greeting everyone by name, which made him widely known and liked. I believe this is somewhat of an inspiration for Walmart's culture of greeting like they have a greeter person at the door. So I think this is where it came from. Because of course, if someone greets you, you're gonna feel a little bit more personally connected to them. And this will have worked very well later on. Um, he actually paid his own way through college. It's very, very impressive. He paid his own way through college during the Great Depression by running newspaper routes since he has done it since he was very little. He waited tables and he worked as a lifeguard and he earned around $5,000 per year. So yes, he was very, very motivated and he had a lot going on. He was known by all his employers to be a very hardworking individual, and he was also known as an excellent salesman. He could sell newspapers, magazines, anything really. Um, he grad he actually learned about retailing from a neighbor who owned a chain of variety stores, but he originally planned to become an insurance salesman because his high school girlfriend, I believe, her father was in insurance, but that relationship fell through. So he graduated in 1940 um with a economics degree, a BA economics degree, which I think is really interesting. He didn't even really graduate from like management or anything. But there's also something to be noted with economics being, well, the subject of allocating resources, like to the most efficient level. So I believe that also helped like shape his personality more than it already was. So I believe that was really good for him. Um he accepted a job as a management trainee at JC Penney in Des Moines, Iowa. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. I'm so sorry. Um, he started at $75 a month. He learned all the retail basics, the customer service, the importance of hard work from his manager, Duncan Majors, and from the company founder, James Cash Penney. He actually said that he remembered Mr. James Cash Penney coming around through the store, not as much as he would in his while he was operating Walmart, of course, he notes. But he still remembers that Mr. James Cash Penney would help him, like, show him how to wrap packages with the most least paper and string as possible, which I think is really interesting, because Mr. Sam Walton already has that personality of being very frugal, as we covered in the first episode of this. So I think it's really interesting, because I'm sure he learned even more frugality from being around like all these people who were like trying to use as least paper as possible. So it's very interesting. Um, he joined the army during World War II, but he didn't actually get to serve due to a minor heart condition he had. So he was mostly just a lieutenant, I believe. And he married his wife, Mrs. Helen Robson, in 1943. And he served as a lieutenant and captain, mostly in administrative roles, since again he had a heart condition. Um, After the war was over, Mr. Sam Walton already knew what he wanted to be, a a retailer, because he was shaped very much by his JCPenney job, and he knew immediately that he wanted to be a retailer. So he studied retailing, he sought out advice, and he started looking for opportunities. That came at the age of 27. Mr. Sam Walton bought a straggling Ben Franklin variety store in Newport, Arkansas, for around $25,000. Um, 5,000 of which was his own, and 20,000 of which was uh, from his father-in-law. Um, I think this is very, very interesting. It shows a lot of confidence in Mr. Samilton. So there must have been like the spark that was like, oh, you're definitely gonna be something. Um, he faced a lot of competition from Mr. Dunham's Sterling store across the streets, which I believe is also another variety store. Um, though I mostly know Sterling as, well, Sterling Silver, like the silver. But that might be me because I don't really know a lot of variety stores. He would constantly check on Mr. John Dunham's stores, like his prices, his displays. He was always learning and adapting to them. Um, and he made a critical mistake later on by not securing a lease renewable option, which would later cost him the entire store. So during his time operating the Ben Franklin store, um, he was given a very specific, strict set of rules by corporate, I believe. So he had to sell certain things at a certain price and he had to buy things from them. And it was all a whole thing. And I don't think Mr. Sam Walton agreed with that very much because he started buying merchandise directly from manufacturers to at lower cost and he broke franchise rules essentially. Um, he also tried to create more creative methods, such as popcorn and ice cream machines to attract customers, which I think is very smart. I would be very attracted to a store if, like, the variety store across the street had like ice cream and popcorn. So, since there's not a lot of variety stores, I believe that sell popcorn. I mean, there's like the boxes, but like that's different from getting like fresh popcorn, you know. Um, and ice cream as well. You always get like the. I know there's the tubs, but there's also like the popsicles. I don't know. Usually see popsicles in stores more often, but that might be me. But yeah, anyways, it's just a really good strategy. This would be one of his breakthroughs because innovation is very big thing in his entire story. Like he'll like innovate a lot of things later on. Um, he learned that selling at lower prices, such as 4 paddings for $1 instead of three, can increase total profit. This would be an early insight that would shape Walmart's core strategy. Lower prices can drive higher sales, volumes, and overall profit to increase. Um, he was working with his brother, Bud, if you remember from the first chapter, and their team did everything to keep costs low, from cleaning to stocking shelves. They tried to keep costs low, essentially. Also, I just learned this. There wasn't like any self-service. So they had to have like a cashier and then there was just like aisles and aisles of products behind them. I think that's really interesting because nowadays I don't really see that except maybe with like alcohol. So it's just very interesting. Um though I do wonder how does that like affect the cost of hiring an employee because obviously now they'll probably have to do like a little bit less since like it's now like self-service instead of like having the employee like gather up everything for you and like just do essentially pick out what you want. So I'm guessing that the cost of hiring employees like lowered a little, but I think we might have to do a little bit more research on that. I've noted that he noted that he liked to live in small towns mostly because his wife, Mrs. Helen, says that she won't live in a town with a population more than 10,000 people. So, the Waltons never really left small towns, and that's why Walmart's mostly in small towns because that's where they were. Um, he was very active in the community. He became active in the local church, the Rotary Club, and the Chamber of Commerce, and this would help him build trust and relationships in the community. I noticed that he puts a lot of emphasis on relationships. Um, for all his employees and throughout his life, he's tried to be very friendly and amicable with people. Because I think, in my personal opinion, relationships are very, very important. Because, um, obviously, like you don't have to be friends with everyone, but like being acquaintances with someone is enough to get them to be like a little bit more trusting of you compared to like a total stranger. So it's very important. In 5 years, he turned his Ben Franklin store around from a failing business and grew the store to $250,000 in annual sales and $40,000 in profit. But he lost the store due to his lease renewal thing. So his landlord essentially refused to renew the lease, and he was forced to sell the entire store. His business he's been working on for 5 years, and he had to leave. So, despite this setback, Mr. Sam Walton and Mrs. Helen decided to start over, and they were going to look for a new town and new opportunities. Um, that's where the entire chapter ends. But I'd like to note that this chapter is very um unique, not unique, but I think it's important in the sense that it's so interesting to see someone so successful. Mr. Walton was an amazing businessman. And even the small setback he like a huge setback, to be honest, not small. A huge setback. He faced a huge setback. He had to sell his store. He was doing well, but he still didn't give up. He decided to like embrace the opportunity and continue moving forward. And I think that's something that we could all learn from. Cuz he's not demotivated at all. He seems to really really love the business. It was a great learning experience for him. Yeah, he says here, I've never been one to dwell on reverses, and I didn't do so then. It's not just a corny saying that you can make a positive out of most any negative if you work at it hard enough. I've always thought of problems as challenges. Yeah, that line. That line I'd really like. Always thinking of problems as challenges. The way he approaches things, I feel like it's a very growth mindset, not to sound corny or anything, but that's the only way I think I can think to refer to it. He has a very strong growth mindset, and he seemed to just be very motivated. So yes, here he says, my landlord, the department store owner, was so impressed with our Ben Franklin's success that he decided not to renew our lease at any price. So he literally could not get his business back. The landlord was like, okay, no, this is my business now. So there was that. Knowing full well that he had nowhere else in town to move store, he did offer to buy the franchise, fixtures, and inventory at a fair price. He wanted to give the store to his son. I had no alternative but to give it up. But I sold the Eagle store lease to Sterling so that John Dunham, my worthy competitor and mentor, could finally have that expansion he wanted. So yeah, essentially he was basically kind of, I guess, kicked out of his own store due to his landlord wanting to give the store to his son, which I think that's kind of sad because he worked so hard on it. He thought of all these cool promotional ideas, but it's to be noted that if he never left that store, I don't think Walmart would be where it is today. Because he learned a lot from that store and he learned not to make that little mistake with the lease again. So I think it was for the best, I guess. Because otherwise he wouldn't have left that store. Later on, he actually talks a lot about like his first Walmart, and it's very interesting. He says that all his employees, they worked very hard, and of course, they were all kind of like a little family, which I think is really interesting because company culture nowadays, I don't really see that a lot, or at least from what I read online, I don't really see that a lot. It's more like, oh, I'm so burnt out all the time, which I guess is fair. It's really tiring. But that is essentially it for chapter 2. There wasn't a lot to cover, and it was very, very interesting. That's all I have for you today. I have to go read up on the next chapter. This was Biz and Chill. I was your host, Nene. Bye bye!